Hey, everybody, welcome to the Tech-Mex podcast. I'm your host, Eric Ramirez, and I got my awesome co host here, Mando Gomez.
Howdy. I'm pumped, man. Let's do this.
Let's do it. We're here with episode 31, number 31. Let's get into it. Dale.
Dale. Dude,
What's going on?
Have you seen the news? Vision Pro, baby. Are you gonna get yours?
Man, I'm not in the Apple ecosystem. I'm all Samsung right here. Look at this. Actually, I got a picture.
Shit, what is that relic, man? That should be in a museum.
High tech from 10 years ago.
Guys, if you are watching the YouTube channel, he's showing. Please show it again. It's a VR headset that actually you use, kind of like your own phone. So you can put the phone there, it wasn't a bad idea though. Is Gear VR. So, dude, I'm excited of Apple. I have both. I have two phones with me, right? I have a mobile, like literally my Android and my Apple, right? So why? Because that's how diverse I am.
All about the diversity, equity, and inclusion, huh?
That's right.
Gomez.
That's right, bro. So, no, it's technology. I like things on Android and I don't like things from Apple. So, as might as well just get two, right? But here is the thing that we have been watching VR for a long time. Like, I remember back in those days when we were in the office, when Oculus came out. Man, we were excited because it's like, hey, this is the kind of the technology, and it became very popular even before Meta, the Facebook purchasing. So, do you remember that?
Yeah, man, I remember. Like, we bought the dev devices, so we were one of the earliest users of Oculus. We were working on. Was this Hydrix? I think it was Hydrix.
It was a Kickstarter project and that's when we were exploring that ecosystem about how it's going to impact society and how it will, like, for gaming, right? Specifically for gaming at the beginning.
Yeah, and I will tell you, so with those dev devices that we had, man, they were actually pretty good. They worked really well. I would tell you, I would do this demo, and it was one was a roller coaster demo. Oh man, I am telling you, I would put the Oculus on, and I would literally fall out of my chair. I would fall out of my chair because that thing was so realistic. So
it was so real.
It was pretty cool. I enjoyed using the Oculus. After that project didn't really take off, the one that we did for that Kickstarter, so I sold everything off and I didn't really use it after that. But since then I've bought like the Samsung one. There's some other ones that I have, probably 3 different VR headsets. Hence the logo that we have for our Tech-Mex podcast is the guy with the VR headset. So there we go. We premonitioned the new Apple one that they've got going on.
Yeah, and I think that look, Apple has always done a great job to take everything to the masses. It's like even from Steve Jobs, he didn't invented the kind of the way for the different phones, right? He made it the iPhone, which kind of did a whole ecosystem and all of that. But the technology was there. There was a very similar phones back in those days. Similar here. The VR headsets, they have been there for a while. But man, I'm impressed how they're making it cool. There is a couple tweets there that is like, I think that they hire influencers to just say, you know what? This is the shit, right? Put it in your face and make it cool because
that's actually pretty smart if they're doing that. Like,
Apple has solved the problem that you can look cool with a freaking VR headset on the street. And this lady,
that's the last remaining problem too, I think. Right?
And this lady in New York, she did it. I'll show it to you later. It's a tweet, but yeah, it's amazing. I think that it's one of those things. It's called mimetic desire, and actually, a guy wrote a book a couple years back that all of the things that you want, you have seen it. You literally you wanting something because you are trying to mimic somebody, and maybe I'm gonna try to mimic that lady that was like
It's like it reminds me of that movie Minority Report. You remember that
Yeah, yeah,
movie?
yeah.
It's
That
just
movie was
like
pretty
that. It's
good.
like you can do walk and do Minority Report style stuff. So I think that's pretty cool.
Hmm. So uh, it's funny, and I have another story here. When I was working with Elon Musk, I remember that he was saying that he was mocking the whole metaverse and the whole VR system, and he was saying, "When I was younger, my mom used to tell me, don't watch the TV too close; you're gonna get blind." And now
And
we
that was
have
like bam right on your forehead, right? So
so he has a point, though. I remember that too.
yeah, that's too funny. Well, maybe there's something to it, but I mean, do you remember using it? I remember using the Oculus one, right?
Hmm.
You used the nicer phone that you use that had the higher DPI and stuff like that, or the dots per inch, or the resolution, basically higher resolution.
Hmm.
The clearer it would look, and it looked pretty great, and very similar to for those of you that maybe haven't seen the Vision Pro, like you can put your environment as if you're like sitting outside in the Grand Canyon, or if you have your own, huge studio, 1,000-foot studio, and you can put screens anywhere around you. You can have YouTube playing here. You can have document open on the other side. You could have a TV in the background. And you can move your head around, and you can kind of look at different things. And the cool thing, actually, in addition, is that the Vision Pro, it recognizes hand gestures, and that's what you're seeing. And I think that's the key, because in these older versions like the Samsung, they have like a, a basically a controller on the side. So you basically
Hmm.
have to use these controllers, tap or fast up, down, stuff like that, in order to easily control things. Now there is like this little target, like as you
Hmm.
move your head around, there's a little target that you can point to stuff. So you point using your head, but then you have to tap on the side here to select something. Whereas in the Vision Pro, it can see your hand anywhere, or anywhere in front of you, and you
Hmm.
can go like this, and that's like you're clicking the mouse or whatever, or
Yeah.
you can drag and drop and stuff like that. So that's what makes it kind of cool.
I think that you're right. I think that it's just the very natural progression on just using your hands, right? Instead of learning how to use a mouse or an equivalent, a remote control. Um, I'm not sure if also it's very heavy. That I have my Quest
Hmm.
from basically Zuck's Metaverse, right? And it's
uh,
very heavy. Like I feel like my head like leaning, right? So
hmm.
I hope that they actually put a cable from the headset to be able to put the
On the current one,
on
right?
the current one to be able
Hmm.
to actually put it on your pocket. So in that way, it's not that heavy because of the battery. So in some point, they'll be very, very slim. It almost reminds me. Do you remember the first cell phones that actually they were like a huge brick that with a huge
Oh
antenna?
yeah, like on Saved by the Bell, right?
Yes, yes, that's right, that's right. And and basically the guys thought that they were so cool, and now we look at it like this is ridiculous. Who's gonna be wearing that or like even calling that? Well, I think that is the same thing. In 10 years, we're gonna see the people that are wearing like New York City wearing the the VR, and it's like the Vision Pros is like, why did they were doing that, right? So
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
uh,
well, but they have tried to really make him look a little bit better. I think one of the other things that they did was, they use a little bit more premium materials. So they have maybe the glass fronts, I think. So it looks like shiny and like
yeah,
very high tech and
they,
cool,
they do,
versus like
they
some
do.
of this. It's like a very matte, plasticky finish. It seems more like a toy than like, a productivity or something that's high tech. So I think that's maybe also another key.
Yeah, I think that the materials are very important. That's what I really like the Apple products. I have only Macs at home. Like that's for sure something that I don't prefer Windows. I just get Macs like Mac for you, right? Like my daughters.
iPad, iPad, Mac, Mac.
Yeah, yeah,
You get an
those.
iPad, you get a Mac.
Dude, I don't have to fiddle with them, right? Like they just work. You just open them and it's like work. And I remember when it was just like using Windows, oh, you have to install the latest driver, you have to install the antivirus, you have to install, and it's and from very very fast, it just start clogging, right? But anyways,
Hmm.
we are digressing. I think that you're right on the on the difference between the old technology on the VR and the new technology. And if they resolve the weight, and if they're making it cool, we're gonna start seeing massive adoption for the little price of $3,500.
Is it really 3,500?
Yes, bro.
Oh
It's like
man.
this
they're
is,
not,
this,
they're not
and but
losing money here.
dude, but that's gonna be the norm. Like
Mhm.
devices are, look, it's like they're gonna. You'll see. It's like
Mhm.
all of these now. Now, like cars. I remember that only like the Italian cars were 100K, like your
Mhm.
Lambos, your Ferrari,
Yeah.
right? Like, and now like it's like, well, you want a brand new car, it's
Mhm.
100K, right?
Yeah.
A decent one. Uh, it's gonna be like this. Like maybe your phone is gonna start. Sure, you have all of the cheap ones, but the luxury ones, and they have to in order to be keeping the monster that they are. They are like a 1 trillion point something, right?
Yeah.
Uh, company.
Yeah, right now, what I was looking at, have you seen those Sankey charts? They're like very, very popular right now and all over Reddit, internet, that
Hmm.
show like all the inputs and they break out like, oh, you're spending this, this, this. Well, anyways, for Apple, they showed that the iPhones are still like a huge chunk of their revenue. It's like 80% or something. So it's a huge thing. And eventually, right, that's got to run out because I mean, these things are very becoming commoditized. And by
Yep.
commoditized, like, eh, all phones are kind of basically the same, right? They all basically do similar functionality. The specs are all kind of around, like you're not seeing big gains there. So eventually they become commoditized. It's like one phone is just like the other. You might pick one over the other only because of the brand.
Yeah.
They might see some of that revenue just start to shrink. They got to find something to kind of start replacing that.
And
Um, and,
that's what it is,
and
man.
that's what they're
Tell
doing.
me, tell me the last product that they did. It was just literally iPhone and your iPad.
Mhm.
This is it. I'm feeling it. So you hear it first in, in the Tech-Mex
Tech-Mex
podcast.
podcast. Mando
So,
Gomez.
so I think that yeah, I'm excited. We might have to shell out the money to be able to get the device right, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna start walking on Houston. You know, like the street, all soaking in sweat. Right?
I saw, I already saw someone in their Cybertruck driving down there and they're doing this thing with their Pro on.
I'll probably wanna be in my Cybertruck with my freaking like Vision Pro.
Oh, you see my side? I got my Cybertruck out now. I took it out the box
Yes.
finally.
Finally, man. But
Finally,
yeah,
man.
that's a good one. Stay tuned. We'll tell you more updates on the device. But so far, super excited.
Yeah. I think it definitely looks promising. I mean, uh, the older ones were a lot of fun. I mean, you can watch Netflix or go through websites, whatever. It's kind of neat. I wonder what it's going to be like. Yeah, out in person though. I'm not really sure. That's the
We'll
only
see.
thing. Like, why do you need to be out with it? Like, are you going to be typing a Word document as you're walking down the street? Is that how people are using it?
I mean, you can
What
keep
do you think?
browsing. I really think that it's just the social media that you can use. Or will it's gonna be a lot of accidents. A lot of accidents. Like
Oh shit! Yeah, I don't know.
that's what is gonna. Oh, I was doing the Vision Pro and suddenly just like you know
Yeah.
it run out of power and now I didn't see and car accident.
You know what? I
So
could see it for people that are exercising. Like if you're gonna
sure.
go out running around the track or something, and you want to watch Netflix, you can be out there running. Now the thing is probably heavy, and maybe it won't do too well with sweat, but eventually maybe it'll get there.
It will
Maybe
get
that's a
there
pretty good
because it
use
is getting
case.
right now everything with AI and the be able to the gestures, the battery. It's just the apex of technology, right? And we are getting there. So yeah, super excited for the advancements.
Yeah. Well, speaking of advancements, I've been watching since you mentioned it last week. You're like you keep bringing it up. You're like I started watching Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty, man.
It's
Rick
my.
Sanchez, man, he's awesome.
Is he Mexican?
Is Rick Sanchez Mexican?
What do you think? What do
Oh,
you think?
Sanchez, come on, man. Of course. Here's the thing, man. Okay, so we mentioned it before, but Rick Sanchez is like the grandfather, and he gets into all kinds of shit, all these crazy adventures.
Hmm.
But the dude's like always drunk, and like when as a cartoon they draw him, he's like drooling. He's got like drool. I'm like, come on, man. Just because he's Mexican don't mean he's out there drunk, drooling, and
Do
he's
you think that?
burping all the
But
time.
do you think that that was the case? Well, as you keep watching the show, uh,
But he's a
the guy
genius.
the
Yeah.
guy lost his wife. So
Mm.
I don't think that is just only Mexican per se, but I see what you're saying, that maybe sometimes the stereotypes that they see us always with the beer in hand and things like that, right?
Yeah. Well, at least they did balance it with him being like the super genius that can time travel or do whatever, visited different universes. I mean, the guy is exemplary. So
For
like
sure.
that part.
He in the show he kind of invented the portal system to be able to move from between dimensions and places and all of that. So that was what it makes the show very interesting, because there is aliens, there is technology, there is like all these kinds. And the show is only like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, if I
Yeah,
remember, each
probably.
episode.
They're pretty quick. They're quick
They're
shows.
very quick, and I really like it when at the end they just put a little sound. Did you get any of that? So it's like, because sometimes like, what the heck happened here? So
You're
fast.
right. A lot of times, like it just goes bam, bam, bam. You're just trying to keep up with like what's going on with the story, or where you look away for a little bit, you're lost. So like they keep your attention for 20 minutes. I mean, that's the actually another impressive thing about the show. It's like the stories are just so out there, right? They're not super easy to predict, which is one of the things that I don't like about. I can predict shows all the time. This is
Mhm.
like way out there, man. You're not predicting this stuff.
That's what I was telling my wife Katie. The in anime is similar. That's the reason
Hmm.
why I still like anime, because
Hmm.
the stories are like unpredictable. Like suddenly you see all of these things and you think that maybe they're gonna get married, and bam, they kill the lady. It's just like,
Yeah, it's just
what
like
the heck
where did
happened there?
that come from, man?
Yeah. So and suddenly they're like walking around and suddenly pff, blind, right? Like wow. So yeah, you didn't expect that. So similar with Rick Sanchez and Morty, and he balanced it because Rick is in pain, right? The guy's a genius on the show, and he's like in pain. You can see that he's like jaded and in pain, like, but he still loves his family, and I think that that's the reason why they make him Hispanic, man.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
they
very
put
good point.
but he
Yeah.
freaking, and he maybe might be like angry or whatever, but he loves his grandson, and he in his own way, right? Because everything is in his own way. But yeah, it's just the usually all of the adventures is with them. It's like he's not by himself, right? So, but yeah, I think that that also play a role why maybe Hispanic as well made it sense.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, the storytelling is really cool with Rick and Morty. You know, it does the hero's journey. You familiar with
Hmm.
that, Mando?
Yeah, there is this guy, and is I think that his name is Joseph Campbell, and probably this formula has been there forever, right? But I think that lately they have been attributing to this guy because he did a diagram. I really recommend anyone that is an artist or kind of like to write things, even the pod. We truly sometimes follow the recipes when we are telling you stories, because you have literally the hero, right? Kind of it goes in a kind of in a circle for the whole journey, where you can just go through these steps where there is some challenges, and then in some point even there is something mystical like Harry Potter, right? Like it gets some help and guidance, and there is something unknown, right? And then it comes
Mhm.
back to the return, and yeah, now you're the guy
And you're
or the guy.
alive. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I mean, you see a lot of those tropes in Rick and Morty, so it's really easy to kind of follow. But it's just the ideas that they bring. They'll take it to the nth degree, and
Dude, and
it's
and
wild.
it they mess with everything, right? Sometimes like they go racist, but they actually mock racism, right? Like I
Yeah.
remember one of them that uh is with the snakes, and then but they were making fun of people that they were racist, like, right, the people that are racist, and again the whole show was going through because of the whole thing. But it is an interesting, it's provocative for sure, and it sometimes you feel, oh man, maybe they went a little bit too far there. But yeah, they double on the what you should and what you shouldn't say, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, come on. You can't get mad at it. It's a cartoon. It's like South Park, right? They talk about some crazy stuff on South Park too. This is a very similar,
It's very
it's a similar
similar,
feel,
but
right?
I mean, we are in tech, and I think that that's the reason why I like, because it's actually a South Park with tech.
with tech science, like some science, like physics and stuff like that. It's really cool. It's really interesting. So I now recommend it also as well. I'm only through in the first season. I don't know how many seasons there are. I think it's probably been around for 8 years or so, maybe. It's
Something
been
like
a while.
that. I just get it. I was watching the last one few days back.
Yeah, so I'm catching up, but no, it's really cool. It's pretty interesting. But they don't come out and say right away like, hey, like we're Hispanics or hey, we're Latinos. But they I have seen that they kind of drop hints here and there,
Hmm.
and in some cases like, oh, have you ever seen a Hispanic that blah 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 does this or something like that?
Hmm.
So they have alluded to it. It's pretty interesting. But in some cases, you do see like
You know,
some people purposely try to hide like their heritage or where they come from or their culture. You know
but
what
you know
that
what is
reminds me
the
of?
yeah,
What's
and you
up?
know
Go
what is
ahead.
the funny thing though?
Mm-hmm.
The guy is white, and he's making obviously these writers. They have to put
Mm,
themselves on their type of the person that they're writing, right? Like their personas and all of that.
mm-hmm.
So in this case, impersonating, right? When you have to in order to have the empathy and all of that. But man, that happens outside too, right?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, like I was like, I wonder if the writers were Hispanic or because I hadn't looked into it. But you're like, no, they're not, right? They're
Mhm.
not Hispanic. So I think that's pretty interesting how people realize that there's a need to address the Latino community and maybe not
Mhm.
head on. That's not like a main theme in the show or in the cartoon, but it's underlined and it's understood, right? The colors that they use for the characters, he's like a little grayish
It's
almost.
a
I'm
gray,
like,
yeah. It's like
what
it's not
color
even
is
brown.
that? I was like, I think that's kind of like, yeah, I can see some Latino. It's more of an Indio, maybe. I don't know. He's like a darker.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I'm more familiar with brown. I don't know with gray Indians.
Yeah, I don't know, but that made me think. Like, you know what else is kind of like that?
Mm.
Here in Houston, we've got this big panaderia called Bolillos, like very
Ooh,
good.
bakery pan,
Lots of people love the pan
pan.
there.
I'll tell you the story why I'm saying pan, but continue.
Well, okay, but this bakery, this Spanish Mexican pan bakery, is some white folks that own it, and it's like it's like the most popular in Houston. I think recently they had a merger and maybe they got a Latino in there now, but it was started by bolillos. And when I say bolillos, like for those of you that aren't familiar with the term, bolillos is the white is like a white hoagie roll, like a white bread roll that a lot of
Like
Hispanics
a white baguette, Mexican
a
baguette.
baguette, white Mexican baguette, yeah, like and a
It's
lot
a
of people.
short. It's a short because it's meant to be the size of a sandwich. Like that. That's what we use instead of like a white bread for sandwich in Mexico and some countries in Latin America. They use bolillos, which is kind of it's more crunchy. It has layers of fluffiness, and it's not like the bread that we are used to, like for your peanut butter and jelly type of a sandwich. But yeah, we use it and we say tortas. That's
Yeah,
basically.
tortas.
Mhm.
People familiar go to Mexican Tex-Mex restaurants that you can get a torta, but yeah, that bread is. You're right. It's a little reminiscent of a French baguette, maybe a
It
little
is.
softer, maybe,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's very reminiscent to that. Well, anyways,
If they
so
if the bakeries don't know how to do it, then it's soft. But if they know how to do
yeah.
it, it will be crunchy. That should be crunchy.
Oh, okay. Well, so anyway, so these bolillos, that's kind of a staple of a lot of the diets, right? It's a very common bread, and so they named the panaderia or the bakery bolillos. But it's also funny. Bolillos also has a meaning of like the white people, right? The white person. So I think they were being upfront about it, like,
Okay,
hey,
okay,
so
okay.
somos bolillos, but we make bolillos too.
What is wrong with some bolillos owning a panaderia place, man?
You know what? Not necessarily anything wrong with it, but I'm like, man, shouldn't it be Latinos having these
You have a point
restaurants?
there. Yeah, you have a point there. Where guys,
Yeah,
what the fuck happened there, right? Like we're not getting our shit together. Why we are not the
yeah.
ones selling? I see
Those
your point.
bolillos are eating our lunch over here, man. They're eating
Yes,
our
for sure.
bolillo sandwiches.
Yeah, and for the my our and our audience sometimes they don't understand, but we're not racist. My wife is white, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's like we just are putting a point where sometimes Latinos, we have good things that a lot
Yeah.
of people want, whites, blacks, and Hispanics, right? Everybody would like bolillos. It's an amazing bread, right? So, but it's a good question. Why we are not the ones selling these type of things or creating an empire, a business, right? Like a whole franchise, right? What do you think that that's the case? Um,
Yeah. I mean, that's the hard part. We have obviously things that people are interested in, right? There's the Bolillos Panaderia. Recently, I've seen here in Rice Village in Houston, there's this paleteria, like Mexican style paletas, and they're luxury paletas or high style or high whatever paletas, popsicles, right? Mexican popsicles. And so, but like a lot of times they don't see it's not Latinos that are bringing to that. And I'm wondering, what is it? What is
mhm.
the thing like that we're missing to bring something that like a business like that out? Because it's
It
not.
is. I'll tell you my point of view.
Sure, sure. Go
I,
ahead.
I think that is business acumen, and it has
Mm,
to do some. It's information. It's being able to education, right? And if you don't have that, then it would be harder. But because there is something there, a lot of grandmas, like even in Mexico and other countries, they're selling freaking tamales, right? They're selling on the street. They just literally open their garage door and they have to make it, right? They want to take your kids to college, and it's
hmm.
like, man, I need to start hustling, right? And
Yeah.
they sell like clothes, or they sell like Amway or whatever, right? Like Mary Kay, like equivalent in their countries, or quesadillas or tamales. The entrepreneurship spirit is there,
Yeah. That's the
and
original hustle culture. Hustle culture that you see right now out there in TikTok and all that. That's the way Latinos are just in general. That's that mentality that they've always
and
had.
dude,
But maybe it's
nothing,
because of
nothing,
survival.
yes, and nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Because I think that that's the struggle between sometimes our culture. Oh no, if I'm hustle, like if or I need to hustle all the time. No, man, that's a step. It's a step on the ladder. You can become legit,
Hmm.
right? The grandma, maybe she didn't have the acumen to be able to say, you know what, how I can make this business to have a shop, and from a shop, how I can have like 3 shops, and from those 3 shops, how I can make like 100 shops. And maybe grandma doesn't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe grandma's like, well, I just want one shop. That's fine too, right?
Hmm.
But I think that what happens is that I hear people saying, well, I cannot do it. Like, why not? Maybe you need something in your mindset to get right, right? Um, and I think that that's one of the things that I can see, because grandma is a hustler.
Yeah, that's true. And you're right. It's a different mindset. I think there's always a reason why you can say that why this might not work, but think of all the reasons how it could work. It's maybe a growth mindset. Sure, identify your gaps, identify the risks that there might be, and then figure out how to overcome those things, and so you can get to that next step. Don't stop there because you're like, I'm not sure. Like, figure it out. You can, do some research. You could do some testing. You could try asking other people, but identify the gap or the reason not to do it, and then you can figure out how to overcome that obstacle and kind of keep moving forward.
Yeah. Talking about obstacles, and before we move there, the reason why I was telling you, Pan, is because my grandpa, he passed away, but when he came and visited me from Mexico, he was already old and he was in a wheelchair. He didn't know English, and then somebody in IHOP approached him. Hey, sir, do you want something? And the frustration that I can see in his face, and just talking to the waitress, Pan. So in my family now, when we are frustrated and we are hungry, we just say, Pan.
Oh man, that's an awesome way to remember your grandfather. I know you told me that you recently went back to Mexico
Yeah,
for.
so and the reason why I remember the grandmas is because my grandma just passed away,
Ah,
and
yeah, yeah.
she was a hustler. Grandma, grandma, wherever you are, it's like I'll remember you always. So
Got
uh,
those genes.
I guess I am the hustler too. And dude, she had this. I suck at speaking. Yes, I'm doing this podcast, and it's actually for me to be able to learn how to speak in public and all of that, right? my grandma, man, it's just natural. Like she was able just to speak like public, being funny without being too, like great memory. And obviously, when she started getting older, she started losing her mind a little bit. But dude, like always very very a salesperson. If I would say what she was a kind of wholesaler, a salesperson, and that's the reason why I had this example, because I just remember mine selling all of these things, right? Just opening her garage and selling products.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of it comes out of necessity, but some people are naturals at it. Doesn't mean you can't learn it though, right?
hmm Which I think that that's what maybe it's okay to do it, right? And if that's what you need to do, well, that's what you need to do, right? Sometimes it's like well, when I'm gonna lose my job, and like instead of going out, you might eat like frijoles and like beans and rice, right? Like, and I mean, you'll survive,
Yeah,
right? So maybe you'll sleep on the floor, and right, like you'll make it. There's people that obviously maybe you don't want to do that for the rest of your life, but if you are good and you have excellence, man, you'll get out of the hole very quickly.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you touched on it. Part of that is excellence. Whatever you're gonna do, try to do it well. I
Mhm.
know in some cases you might think, this is not a long term thing, but so you may not put your 100% towards it. But you never know. And no matter what you're doing, you're always upskilling or improving your skills. The only way you can improve is if you're really trying. So, I mean, even if something doesn't seem like it might be long term or something like that, still try to be excellent.
It's your
And
reputation,
it's
man.
your
Your
reputation
rep.
at stake.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, always. Like a lot of the sometimes good jobs. Maybe a friend of yours, like, oh yeah, when I was in this restaurant, he was my, whatever. And but now the person is in a maybe in a bank or in another institution, and like, and they like, hey, this guy or this gal has a great work ethic, right? And yeah, it carries you. It's your reputation.
Yeah.
Talking about reputation, you remember that we brought up Rico into the pod. Uh,
Oh, yeah. Rico the barber.
Rico, yes, he now is an entrepreneur, man. Maybe a little bit of what I have been
Mm.
pushing on him, his mindset. Maybe I got into his thick skull, and it's like he did it, man. He
That's
did it.
good.
He jumped basically ship. He was in a just in a regular barber
Hmm.
shop, and then now he rented out a studio with his partner. He has a partner, so
Mm.
I went to his place, and it's basically only a space for two chairs, right?
Hmm.
But I was very proud of him. It's like, man, this Rico is my boy. So like, no, man, like you have to. And I was kind of giving him some advice, and his partner, the first time that I met his partner,
Hmm.
and he goes by Casio, like those watches. That was his last name.
Casio.
That's I think that's his last name too. And I was just giving them like left and right. Uh, I love tech and I love businesses, right? So that's
Hmm.
literally the things that I always talk about. So I was just giving them advice, right? And dude, the Casio tells me, bro, you're a saint.
You're a saint. Okay, he just met you, right?
It's like exactly, and it's like, man, this guy doesn't know me yet. So for me, that was the first one. I have been called rude. I have been called a genius, right?
There
But
you
never a
go.
saint. So
Ay, ay.
I think that. What do you think? What do you think that? Why he thinks? I mean, this guy he just
Mm.
barely met me, and
Yeah.
he's just telling me that, right? What's your? I
Well,
gave
you
him
know
a bunch
what?
of advice, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably yeah. I mean, you probably touched on it right there. It's because maybe in the Latino community, and we've mentioned this before, maybe we're not used to helping each other. So when someone does, you're like, wow, like what? I can't believe this guy is really dropping real knowledge from his own experience, the things that he knows, just to try and not asking anything for it. Maybe
Yeah,
that's why you helped them out. You got them from step one to step two, and they're real grateful for it.
for sure. And dude, the guy is like, my barber is like, no, man, the cut is on me this week. They're like, bro, you're starting, man. It's like, no, like,
Take my money, bro.
you take my money when you are there, man. Sure, I'll get the nice steak. I'll take it, right? But right now, man, no. I need to support you, right? I need to
Mhm.
help you to keep excelling, because that's the worst thing that could happen. It's very hard to do the jump, and suddenly your business fail, because that's literally what happens, right? And we know that 90% of businesses, they fail in America.
Mhm.
So I want basically him to succeed, and he's in the Woodlands. It's a very nice, rich neighborhood in north of Houston, and yeah, I hope that he makes it. And yeah, but I have been giving him advice, but yeah, I do recommend to have, if you think that you have a shot, take it. I mean, what is the worst thing that could happen, right? Just go back to work.
Yeah, you go back to your own shop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a good
yeah.
point. Well, it sounds really good. Maybe we should have him back on the podcast. Do a recap of what's going. It's been maybe what 5-6 months since we talked to him, right? It's been a
Hmm.
while.
Yep.
Yeah, that might be a good one. We can bring him back.
For sure. So, man, this weekend, Super Bowl.
Yeah, I see you got. Well, I see that you got your haircut. Is that because you're playing something real big for the Super Bowl? Or what? What's going on?
Psh, if there's something that actually bores me, is sport. If I'm playing them, yeah, I'm engaged. I like,
That
dude.
makes sense.
I'm a fucking gladiator, right? Like, imagine a gladiator watching like, no, gladiators want to be in the fucking game, man.
Hey man, but there's a lot of tech in sports too, so
For
maybe
sure,
that's one
for
of the
sure.
avenues.
And the thing that I enjoy for sure is the halftime, right? When they have like
The
the
dancers.
shows. Then I guess like Taylor Swift, right? I'm not
Oh,
sure if she's gonna
yeah.
be there,
I
but
gotcha. I gotcha.
but uh yeah, basically kind of the ads, man, the ads are good. Some of the ads are like legendary, right? So
Yeah,
there are
they
some
are.
good things, but don't get me wrong, I think that I appreciate excellence, and I have a lot of respect for excellence.
Mhm,
So professionals are excellent in what they do. I mean, they're pros, right? So,
mhm,
and I think that there's a beauty, no matter what sport it is, right? That I think that is like, you have to recognize that all of the amount of time that all of these people put in, NBA players, NFL players, like even in college, right?
mhm.
Because they put the time to become good, like chiseling yourself, right? To
That's right.
become who you are. There's a great statue. I think that I mentioned in the pod before.
Mhm.
The person is like chiseling themselves, like self-made man or woman. But it's a good reminder.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. Well, speaking of these chiseled athletes, they're gonna be playing in the Super Bowl.
Some they're very.
Well, yeah, in the football, it's chiseled underneath, kind of like me. There's underneath this top
So you're
protective layer.
you're very chisel under.
Yeah.
I see the point. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's always a lot of tech, and
You
that's
have a
why I
six
like.
pack underneath for
Oh
sure.
yeah, no more. I got the 18, man, or what is it?
I have no idea how many six.
Yeah. Man, well, they're bringing together okay. So a new thing this year, I wanted to bring it up, is that they're gonna be doing this Doink. Doink, the Doink camera.
I have no idea what you're talking
It's
about.
supposed
Okay.
to be the noise. So in football, when they kick the extra point,
Hmm.
and the ball goes through the uprights, right? Well, a lot of times, if they're off, it hits one of the poles and it goes doink.
Yes. Okay.
It goes doink. It's a noise, right? This year they're gonna have the doink camera so that if someone misses, they're gonna be able to tell. But so basically, all they're doing is they're putting a bunch of 4K
Mm,
cameras up there on the
nice.
goalpost, so you have a kind of this front view and also this side view. They're probably gonna have a bunch of mics on there too, so you can hear the doink if
Dude,
somebody misses.
talking about the VR, imagine when they marry the technology that you can actually be on the field with the person. Man, that would be impressive when you actually, now you're going to be actually having me because I want to be there.
You want to be there. And here's the thing. I think they have started some of this technology already. I think they started it with some of the World Cup stuff,
Hmm.
so that in your VR headset, you can see it. So they already done it. But of course, with the Vision Pro, with the Apple Vision Pro, it's going to take it to another level, right?
Hmm. I
Everything that
mean,
Apple does is the best.
yeah.
It's the best. It's the best. I tell you, it's the best.
We'll
Yeah.
watch the ads. We'll watch what is the ads and the yeah. That's interesting. The Doink camera. Oh,
Well, okay. They also have drones and stuff like that. So that's kind of a bunch of common
drones
stuff that
is
they're gonna have
already all.
eventually.
Is like old technology by now.
Yeah. So I think maybe the place that we're headed for is like you're really going to be able to do live 3D, like especially with your Vision Pro. You just can move yourself from one part of the field to another, do whatever viewpoint that you want. You can see everything in 3D. I think that's where all of this tech is eventually going to go. I mean, it has to. It makes a lot of sense, especially for a lot of people that are stats nerds and stuff like that. You can, you'll be able to have all those stats at your fingertips, literally. So I think that's where it's all going. Um, did you see any TV sales this weekend? Are you going to get you a new 100-inch TV?
No, I didn't saw that, but maybe like sounds good. I remember like back on those days, it was even hard to just get into your house, right? Because
Oh
it was
yeah.
kind of heavy, and there was a lot of only people that in these mansions. But yeah, I do have projector. We have a mini room, but yeah, is it good? Have you seen it?
Well, okay. So, around this time, they always have a bunch of TV sales. I mean, I've got an 85-inch TV. I got a,
Yeah, it's pretty close
70-inch
there.
TV, but
It's
my
pretty.
projector is 150-inch. It's a big screen. So I don't know if we're gonna watch it on my screen. I'm probably gonna go over to my brother's house. He's the one that does the barbecuing. So we probably, Super Bowl is all about the food. It's not really about the game, anyways.
I thought that you had the trigger. So also he has a trigger or he has
I
something else.
know. Well, the Traeger right now we basically are using it more so for briskets. That's
Uh,
been the main thing, and we roast a lot of chicken also on there. So that's mainly what we've been doing. But we cook a lot of steaks. The Traeger, I don't know if I haven't really learned how to do steaks on there. I've done one on there. It just came out okay. Oh, actually, I did a few. I did one earlier this week, but I did it on the cooktop on the side, not
mm,
like with the fire inside. So
okay.
I'm not too sure, but anyways, we probably do food at my brother's for Super Bowl. But I don't know. One thing though, have you ever been to CES? By the way, I know I'm jumping around a little bit.
Yeah.
In January, there's CES.
Yes, but I didn't see anything coming out like this year that it was like. And
Well,
by the way, for the audience, it's basically an electronics conference
yeah, the
for
Consumer Electronics Show. I think it's what it
yeah,
is.
I think so. And basically you see all of these gadgets and different things. So um, uh, eh, and yeah, what do you see or why you're
Well,
bringing it
so
up?
they have this new thing called the Wall, and it's basically a TV, but it's made up of a bunch of panels, and so you put all these panels together to make up one huge grid TV the size of a wall. So you can have like a 14-foot by 10-foot screen,
Oh wow! But
but made of panels. That thing
this is
would be pretty cool.
this is an interesting question. Why would you want to? I mean, you have a 150-inch. Why would you want to change it? It's like because you don't like the projector technology. Like you have to put the room dark.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I still have to dim the room a little bit. I have a
Hmm.
laser projector, so it's still really bright. So I can still use it during the daytime, but because it's such a big screen, it would help having a little bit dimmer the room,
Mm.
right? But with a screen like this big paneled screen, you don't need that because it's as bright as a normal TV, and you can watch it super easily during the day too. So I think that's eventually where I'm going to end up, unless the projector technology gets a little bit better somehow.
I like that one. I think that one we have been around for many years, man. And sometimes we can see a hero or a zero, and that one I think that maybe might be a hero. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I think right now they're probably pretty expensive though. I think they've done like huge ones, like 20 feet by 30 feet, $100,000 setups, right? That we'll probably wait a little bit to come
What is
down.
it like? 2 bitcoins?
Just a couple Bitcoin. That's just right. It's
I'll
not
wait
big
only
deal.
when the Bitcoin is only one Bitcoin.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to give up my Bitcoin that easily. That's the only thing. By the way, did you see the price pop this week a little bit?
The price pop.
Mm-hmm.
What I tell people is that, by the way, again, this is not a financial advice. We are two dudes in the internet. We don't know better. So, um, what I tell people is like it has to fluctuate. Nothing goes like a straight line. So
Yeah.
see any chart for any stock or any pricing of anything, even the pricing of eggs, right? It's not like it's like literally there is and it's called volatility. I don't like to sometimes use the names that the financial people use because sometimes I just think that they are just trying to scare people with
Fake
this
news.
volatility and standard deviation. I mean, I can't speak that lingo, but I think
Mm-hmm.
that the only thing that you need to understand is the price fluctuation.
Mm-hmm.
That price that moves ups and downs, that's how it goes. And in the case of Bitcoin, it's pretty wide. And I think that that's what people don't understand. It's like, oh, yeah, the sky is no, it's normal. The
Mm-hmm.
instrument or the Bitcoin as an asset, it's normal that it moves in that way. So yes, we saw it like fluctuating 20% in a few days,
Mm-hmm.
and right now it's up, and maybe tomorrow will be minus 20.
Well, a lot of people aren't counting on it. I think a lot of people are thinking it might hit 50K next week. So that it hasn't been that high in a couple years.
Yeah.
So a
Any
lot of
news?
people are
Any news
excited about
propelling because the halving is in April. So what do you think that
it.
is propelling this?
I think it's because in one of the previous podcasts we mentioned that there's a lot of people selling out of GPTC,
Mm.
which was the one that was already kind of out there available because they had really high fees. Now there's all these 10, 11U ETFs. So people are we're selling out of GBTC to buy into the other ETFs. Well, all that selling caused downward pressure on the price, and they're still selling. They're still selling, but now the buying is overcoming the selling. So it's a net positive now versus
Mhm.
it being a net negative before. And I think that's what's now the price is catching up to the movement of Bitcoin.
Nice. Well, I mean, if you don't have Bitcoin, get into the wagon, get yours before it's too pricey.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be too disappointed, but we're not financial advisors. We're just trying to share some of the good stuff that we've come about.
For
Speaking
sure.
of, I was surprised. I found out that they're not doing crypto ads in the Super Bowl this year.
You know what? Freaking like FTX.
Yeah.
For the audience, could you tell who is FTX or
Okay,
what is
FTX
FTX?
was a big crypto exchange, right? And basically, they had this guy Sam Bankman-Fried, and they had this
The
other.
white dude that has an afro.
Yeah, if you see him, he's got this crazy curly hair, and he's got this girlfriend with like very mousy looking girlfriend with like big glasses. That's the Alameda Research. So these two
Mhm.
businesses were kind of in cahoots, and they were doing illegal things with
It was
people's money.
embezzlement. It was embezzlement. They
Embezzlement, yeah,
basically like, well,
essentially.
somebody deposited a Bitcoin, half a Bitcoin for you, half a Bitcoin for
Hmm.
me.
Yeah, and then they were doing using deposits to get loans, and then using that to get more Bitcoin, and it was this big circular thing, and it was all illegal. And anyways, the shoe dropped, and everything fell down. They went bankrupt. FTX was one of the biggest exchanges. They were doing donations to political figures, the government, all kinds of people. I think in hopes to maybe protect themselves a little bit because they knew this day was coming.
Dude,
And so,
I've been hacked 3 times, right? So on crypto. And that's the reason why we tell you guys be careful with your
mhm,
keys, be careful with crypto, because that's for sure you have to have some knowledge there. But and I had some cryptocurrency there in FTX.
mhm.
And for me, I smelled something fishy. And I was telling people like uh, and again, it's just because I have been in the rodeo.
Yeah, it's not your
It's like
first rodeo.
it's not my first rodeo. I pull it out. I say, yeah, screw this. This is iffy,
Mhm.
and I'm glad because 1 year later, they literally that's when the news came out and they start shutting down.
Yeah, for sure. Well, they had some really big Super Bowl ads.
Mhm.
I think a couple years ago in 2022. So one of the famous ones was like, I don't know if you know Larry David. He's like one of these actors. He's kind of a sarcastic old man,
I
Anyways,
don't know him, but okay.
yeah. He's a funny guy. He's like comedian. And in the FTX ad, it's basically a FOMO ad, right? So it's about it's about this guy that always says, "I don't like the new technology, whatever." And so the ad is about all these people saying, "Hey, check out my new invention. I got the fork." And he's like, "I got 10 forks right here, baby." Like, he's like, what do I need a fork for? Right. And then they go down the line. There's a toilet, there's another invention, blah, blah, blah. And in the end, they're like, look, don't be like David. Buy your crypto. This is the next big thing. This is not going away. And then it was an FTX ad, and then bam,
Really?
they went bankrupt and everything went south.
dude,
And
dude, this is hilarious. Have you seen Forbes magazine, right? Like the brand is so famous, right? But they literally anyone that they put there under
on the
30,
cover.
yeah, on the cover, like the best, like the youngest billionaire, and Sam was there, or the Theranos lady, she was there.
Yes. Yes.
So they are the best predictors for who is the next, like like boom and bust story.
That might be a good section for us to include on the podcast, the boom and bust. Like we cover like SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, right? The Theranos lady.
Look, they are very. You have to know why these people they are very good on involving and selling and painting the story, right, on what they're trying to do. They fool everyone, right?
Yeah.
Politicians, investors, bankers, right? So it will be interesting. Yeah, let's explore that because I think that it will be very good to dive into how these guys or gals
How were they pulling it off, right?
Yeah, that's right.
There's
That's
always
right.
some lessons that you can take, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Well, okay. So surprise, surprise. This year, there's no Super Bowl ads. There was another ad with Matt Damon. I don't know if you remember seeing this one.
I
This was
remember
like
that one, but that was for
Fortune
crypto.
favors the brave.
Crypto.com, right? Like that company.
Yeah, and that was a big thing. It's like they had like this big theatrical ad, like people, astronauts going to the moon, right? You gotta fortune favors the brave, and that's a very, very like common quote. Like you've got to be bold to get into crypto. Just do it. Basically, they're using like the whole FOMO bit to get people out there. But no, none of that this year. But I think that's mainly around FTX, all the bankruptcy proceedings. And I got bit by Celsius. I went from $50,000 to $5,000. I just got my, haircut.
You sent me a screenshot of that. It's like, why he's sending me a $5,000 picture? Like question mark. What the heck? And
that's what I got after the bankruptcy gave me back some money. I got 5,000 back.
It's better than nothing, man. It's
I guess it's something, right? I'll take some losses on the
sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Exactly. And that was my play money that I had from some Ethereum that I had. So I'm out of Ethereum now, I guess. I was like, I'm not risking the Bitcoin. Ethereum, I don't care that much about, but
yeah,
it's kind of funny. But so none of that. But you know what will be there? Apparently there's going to be a couple of AI ads. So I guess AI is the new cool thing that's going to be in ads on the Super Bowl.
Before you move to that one, there's an important thing for the audience there. The reason why Ethereum versus Bitcoin, without being philosophical here, is just because you have to see it almost like one is oil, you burn it, right? And the other one is gold, right? And you keep it or you do whatever you want to do with the gold. And I think that that's what happens with both of these products. There is an utility with Ethereum, and actually they call it gas. Yeah. So you have to burn because they can print as much Ethereum as the economy need. So that's the reason why they have to destroy it. It's part of the software that it auto destroy. I forgot it's 0.3 or whatever percent, and it's destroying, it's burning. Like literally, you will be burning oil like gas. And in the case of Bitcoin, there's only going to be 21 million, even less, because people have lost it. The crypto hacks and all of that. That probably maybe 19, 18 in total, right? So that's the reason why Ramirez is making that comment.
Yeah, nothing against Ethereum. I mean, I held some, but that's not my bag that I'm hodling. The hodl bag is Bitcoin, right? So
Time on
um,
hands.
diamond hands, right? But the next big thing that people are talking about is AI. Like I was saying, I'm also I haven't looked at these ads yet. I want them to be a surprise when I see them on the Super Bowl ads. So maybe we'll talk about them next week, what they actually were. But it just speaks to this how big AI now is becoming, right? It's in the mainstream. Everybody's kind of now aware of it. Maybe they've heard of Chat GPT. They've heard maybe Google's doing some of this stuff. I think it's pretty exciting. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I mean, I usually that's what I do. I don't watch the Super Bowl, but sometimes I watch the ads that they come up because it's so they become viral, right? All of these, you start seeing them. But yeah, I'm excited for that for sure.
Yeah, and I think people are smart in that, or businesses are smart in that they use these Super Bowl ads to try to make something, I guess, mainstream. Because back then, 21 and 22, whatever, when they were doing these ads, crypto wasn't really mainstream yet. Like people like you and I, we knew about it, right? But the mainstream, the everyday person, they maybe have heard of some coin, didn't really know what it was, especially, and they probably didn't even know about the companies like these FTXs or crypto.com, whatever behind them, Coinbase. So this is a way to break into the mainstream. And I think now most people know or have heard about Bitcoin. Let me ask you this. Do you think your parents know what Bitcoin is now?
Because they hear me.
Because they
but
heard you.
I think that is what happens. We are early adopters,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that has been always in my life because I like tech. Like very very young age, I always like technology. For me, technology is that increment of leverage, that equalizer, that enhances you as a human being, right? Look, we are remotely, we are chatting, and we are able to just communicate, right? So it will not be possible without technology. We probably will be actually farming just to get food for us, like back on those days, right?
That's old technology.
That's just like exactly with our tractors and things like
Mhm.
that. Now we can do all of these fun things, right? So um, with the comfort of our home, with lights and power and internet, right? So
Mhm.
yes, I think that that's what happens. Other people, our parents, even our grandparents. I talking about my grandma. When I was over there in Mexico, I was helping her
Mhm.
to set up her iPad, so that way I
Uh,
can chat with her and things like that, right? So uh, even my grandma was able just to figure out these things. But yeah, why the question on
I'm
on my
just.
parents?
Hey, oh, I was gonna say, if your parents are know about this stuff nowadays, that's when it's pretty mainstream. So I know my parents have known about it for a long time because I gave them all. By the way, I gave them all Bitcoin back in 2012 or whatever, right? I back then it was like $5 worth of Bitcoin. It was like I don't know, it's like point two Bitcoin, point three Bitcoin with just $20, right? Or $5. I mean. So I gave them all Bitcoin. They're like, hey, learn about this, hold on to this. You know how many of them still have it?
All of them? Zero.
Zero.
It's like probably you're giving a seed for a nice tree, a nice like whatever, and suddenly they just toast it, right? It's like, why you didn't plant it?
The funny thing is, when you look on Reddit, YouTube, whatever, and there's always these things that say, okay, all you need is 0.21 Bitcoin and you're going to be rich forever. 0.21. And I'm like, shit,
Mhm.
man. They all have, what if they would had zero point 0.3 Bitcoin? Now it's really hard to get, what, zero point 0.2 Bitcoin is basically $8,000 or so, something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
So,
which again, and you have to think that it is inflation. I guess with our current politicians, I'm not going to name the names, we'll become all billionaires.
eventually, that's too
just
funny.
just freaking inflation, right?
Well,
Yeah.
okay. Well, that takes us into our next section. And Billionaires Watch today. We're going to
All
talk
right.
about Bill Ackman. Hell is coming.
Interesting. All right. So this guy, if you don't know him, he's like me, gray hair, right? All the way. I still have some black hair on me, believe it or not. Yeah, this guy is completely white hair. I remember his kind of like a interview on CNBC or any of those financial shows, because he's kind of like a hedge fund, like Wall Street guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was invited. This was probably maybe February 2020, before even the whole
Before
pandemic,
before COVID like really broke
li-
out. Mm-hmm.
literally. And basically, that's what he said: hell is coming. And basically, his premise, he was able to kind of predict, I guess, that the market crash for COVID. So he netted it after the whole his bet, because remember, these guys are the best gamblers of all. If you want
Mm.
gains, you don't go to NFL, bro. You go to freaking stock market. You don't go to Vegas.
Stock market, yeah,
that's where
big
men are
bets,
made.
Wall Street bets, right? WSB.
Oh, you never watched the show from the Wolf of Wall Street?
No, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the reason. Oh,
One of us. One of us.
that guy is one of those guys. So
Yeah.
it's one of those guys, right? It's a hedge fund manager, and he made it 2 billions. I don't know how much money he made, because right now his net worth is 4 billions.
Mm-hmm.
So, but why you want to bring this guy up this time?
Well, so we're just so of course we're just interested on the stories of these billionaires and maybe a little bit about how they make their money. But this guy has an interesting cross section with some of the topics that we tend to talk about. Is some of the right Latino stuff, and we mentioned DEI earlier, but this guy is actually a little bit against DEI and diversity, equity, inclusion. But it's kind of weird because in a
I
way
hate
he
inclusion.
says,
Why
yeah,
we hate inclusion?
screw equality. No.
It's like, what the?
The thing is, in a way, he's for that stuff, right? But I think the way he sees it maybe is that it's gone overboard, or
Oh,
like it's not being applied fairly. Like he wants things to be fairly done, and so what he's done is he's gone against a lot of the DEI stuff, and maybe it's just because the DEI itself has been politicized. And his buddies are of a certain mindset, and he just wants to be kind of cool. And now it's kind of cool to be anti woke in some ways, And I think he's fallen into that, even though, his initial stuff is like, I just want things to be fair for everybody, which I get that. But some of the stuff with equity kind of tries to balance some things because people aren't born into fair situations to start with. So being fair or equal is not the same as being equitable. And there's a whole thing you can get into with that. But anyways, pulling back away a little bit from that, I'm just really interested in the guy because he's had this crusade against DEI now, and I know I don't know if you're familiar with what happened, like kind of with the Harvard president recently with this plagiarism stuff.
I remember seeing something, but I didn't spend a lot of time there. What happened? Yeah, like
Well, she was doing some type of in Congress doing some testifying about something or other, and it came out against again they dug up maybe something that she did as part of her PhD or something there at Harvard, and they found out that there was a plagiarism in there. Now, plagiarism can mean a lot of different things. I'm not
sure.
exactly sure what she did, but he basically led the whole thing to get Harvard's first black president fired. Which was her. So he did his MBA at Harvard, so he has some skin in the game for that. I'm sure he doesn't want bad repute to come to Harvard and things like that. But he was very vocal about it to
Yeah.
bring her down. And one of those things also played into kind of the DEI because she was I think the first black president of Harvard. And so it blew up into this real big thing. But this guy is really more interested in now, right? He was a hedge fund guy. Now he's, like all the billionaires, once they get to a certain state, they want to start doing other alternate type of things to either grow their money or to affect rules and laws and things like that.
I as you are mentioning, sometimes these guys, and I get it, it's a pendulum, right? If you hit too far, maybe these people are trying to bring it more closer to the center, right? More balance. And unfortunately, maybe he's taking it kind of too far, right? On the other side, when maybe he doesn't mean it. I don't know, right? Obviously, we don't truly know their motivations. We just see kind of their actions, and but yeah, it's always interesting to see from their perspective too, right? Why, what is what it matters to them? Because it's not about the money right now. It's about maybe he thinks that it might be social justice, and from his point of view, or maybe it's just views, which well, this is what America is for. Meaning, it's like free speech. Maybe
Hmm.
he's okay. I mean, if I'm not in his camp, right? But I think that that's kind of what it makes this country so nice and beautiful, right? Which is basically able to have a freedom of speech.
Yeah, for sure. I think just one of the things his approach has been more so of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? There's
I like that.
obviously
It's basically
you like the visual, like
no, no, no.
let's throw them out.
And it's not that I like to throw babies.
Catch, oh, football,
It's like a
Super
football.
Bowl.
Yeah. No, but I think that that actually pictures literally what this guy is doing. It's like uh, dude, it has been so hard just to get the pendulum a little bit in the other way, and now this guy is trying to bring it back like how it was before, right? Which it will not happen, right? I think that that's the reality, but I think that the reality is that maybe it will swing in the middle. Oh yes, that picture because I think that the same guy has been doing statements against LGTB community. Like I can see the pattern where anything that is kind of in the other side, this guy is literally trying to push it in the other side, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
maybe he's just an anti kind of person. So like whatever everyone say, I want to do the opposite. I don't know.
and there's value on sometimes seeing these people because I mean the guy's a billionaire.
Yeah.
He's not a dummy, right? He's not a fool. So um, there might be something that may be a point of view, right? I'm not saying, and once again, I'm very unbiased on these things, right?
Hmm. Well, you know
But
what? That's a good point because he does a lot of shorts also. Like all these Wall Street
really,
guys, he does a lot of shorts. I think he had one very famous short, which was like the Herbalife. He did like a very like he's like this is going to shit. Is going to go down, and I think he made a lot of money shorting that business. Whereas a lot of people use stuff like that to make their living. They go and sell this stuff. So I
sure.
think it can piss a lot of people off. So, but again, Bill Ackman is kind of just one of these Wall Street guys. We wanted to bring your attention to him. He's kind of a big player, I think, recently, and a lot of things, at least during this post-COVID stuff. His net worth is over $4 billion right now. It's someone to keep an eye on, see what he's got going on next for him, just because you never know. And
We need we
his
need
hedge fund is
more
Pershing Square
Hispanic
Capital.
billionaires, though, for sure. We need more Hispanic billionaires. Okay, Ramirez, need to be the
Hey,
next one.
it's up to us. So you know what? Let's leave it at that. You know what? If you like our content, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. We love to hear from you. It'll give us ideas on what to talk about next. Hopefully, we inspire the next billionaire out there. Hopefully, it's one of us Latinos, and we got to get onto it, man. You know what? Dale.
Peace.